Hello everyone, my name is Johannes Schielein and I'm going to show you today how to link the project location template to more complex geodata. So recently a colleague asked me how to do this for a specifically complex case, which will be the last one in this tutorial, but I decided to create a whole tutorial and film that in order to enable others and make it easier to create this link in the future. So we are going to start easy, and then we are going to touch a more complex case as well. This tutorial is meant for people who know how to work with Excel and also who have a basic knowledge working with geodata. So you should be familiar of what a KML file is, and you should also be able to work with QGIS at least a little bit. So what I'm going to show you today is how to create this link. The basic challenge is that we have this Excel template, which you've pre-filled probably already with information regarding the project activities. But since we're working here in Excel, we have this certain limitation that we can only store point location in forms of latitude and longitude. Now, this might not be desirable if you're financing, for example, a transmission line in the electricity sector or a rural road. You might want to have line information, so you want to see actually the extension of the road in order to be able to verify, for example, the ongoing project progress with satellite images. Or if you're financing a protected area, you might want to have the so-called polygon information, so you want to see the real spatial extension of this area. And you need to have this in form of a complex geometry. These geometries you can only create using a proper geospatial format. In our case, we are going to work with KML. So let's say you have already pre-filled your information here and you just want to create a link. You're going to refer to the last two columns. The first one, or the almost last one, is called file name of additional geodata, where you will put the file name. The second one is called primary key, where you will put the primary key that actually establishes the link between the polygon and the information described here in lines. You can use one single file to actually provide us with all the polygons. You don't need to have separate KML files for each and every entry. That would be too much work for you and for us as well. So use one KML file, that's totally fine, and differentiate using the primary key. I've prepared a small example for you to illustrate this. So I have basically 3 project locations that I'm going to link to these entries, and I'm going to show you how case by case. So the first case is a very simple one. We have 2 entries in the Excel table. I just showed them, 2 lines, and we basically have 2 project sites that correspond to these 2 lines. So each project site is linked to some information in the so-called attribute table in the geodata. I'm going to show you what that is just now. And then each of these locations is linked exactly with one entry in the Excel file. Yeah. So the attribute table you can see here. So if I right click on the layer and I click on open attribute table, I can see this is the attribute table. It's not very large, basically contains only one column called location name. And I can add now new columns. I'm going to show you how to do that in just a minute. And then each of these lines here corresponds with one polygon. So you can see if I click on them, you can see also which line corresponds to which polygon. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to edit this table. I'm going to enter here in the editing mode. I'm going to create a new column, and this column is going to be called primary underscore key. This can be an integer, that's okay, and I'm just going to click on OK. So I have this new column here, and what I'm going to do is I know that my location A corresponds to my first entry here in Excel. So what I would just do is I would go to location A, put primary key 1 here, location B, primary key 2, location C, I'm going to skip for now. And then I'm going to create the same link here. So A corresponds here with the 1, and the 2 corresponds to project site B. And that's basically it. What I would do now is I would save this, the edits, exit the editing mode, and then export the data, would give it some meaningful name. Yeah, the project number underscore project locations. For example, that could help you later on to find this again. And he's now just offering me to save it as a geo package. That's okay. You can also use a geo package or KML as you like. Any geospatial format will basically do, but don't use a shapefile. Yeah, basically I can skip that here, or I can change that here. So I can also choose the KML. And okay. Okay, that's basically it. I'm not going to add this again. So that would be the first case, very simple one. Now, second case is also a simple case. So the second case would be that I have multiple projects or activities for the same location and to one relationship. So the same project site is part of multiple projects, for example. So I have my project site A in this case only, and it is basically linked to 2 entries in my Excel file. So in that case, for example, let's say I would have for this very same location here another project phase. I can duplicate the information, then it's maybe here the project phase 3. And I would, of course, update all of these information. Yeah, start date, end date, activity description would be something different, but it's the same location. So I would basically use the same primary key. You already see it here. It's 1 and 1 for these 2 lines, and the corresponding 1 here in the location A. Oh, I don't know why, but I can open it like this again. So you see location A has the 1, and that's the one that I just had in multiple project phases. Okay, so I don't need to change anything here. And now comes the interesting and more complex case. What if I have multiple project sites for the same activity? So the example that the colleague posted was we have multiple administrational units that correspond to one activity described in Excel. And they had basically 15 administrational units. And of course, they didn't want to recreate in Excel 15 times the project. Yeah. So basically, I mean, for project site B, you would still have a one-to-one relationship, but for project site A, you would now have 2 polygons that correspond to one single activity in your Excel table. And I'm going to show you how to do this. So basically what you would do is you would use the same primary key for the 2 polygons. So again, I'm going to open my attribute table here. So location C is now also part of the first activity. Again, I go into the editing mode. I put a 1 here and I save it. And that's basically it. You don't have to do more. Yeah, we are going to be able to create the link afterwards. If you are interested, of course, you can also create something called a multi-polygon. So a multi-polygon basically associates these 2 polygons to one line in the attribute table. And just for the sake of completeness, I'm going to show you how to do that. You open the toolbox, You write promote, promote to multipart. Click on that, you select your locations. And you click on run. And I think that should have worked. If I didn't mistake, oh, I think I used the wrong tool. Let me see, recently used. Ah, it was called collect geometries. My bad. But I'm not going to redo this whole tutorial. So what we are going to do is just delete that layer, forget what I said, and now you are going to click on collect geometries. You can basically search it here as well, of course, collect geometries. Yes, you're going to choose the layer. Then you're going to choose the field that contains the IDs that you just entered. So you put the primary key and then you can click on run. So, and what he did now here is, if you open the attribute table, you can see there are only 2 lines remaining. And if I click on location A, I will get the 2 polygons marked, location B only 1. And that is basically would be the cleanest way to submit your data. But again, this last step to collect geometries, you don't have to do it necessarily, but it might help you to work with the data later as well. Okay, that's basically it. You can save your project. Again, export your file when you have finished it, and then submit both the KML and the Excel to us, and we will be happy to create the link and provide you with the data later in the Open Data platform. Thank you very much and have a nice evening.